Good morning, students. I welcome you all in today's lecture. We have been doing the chapter Memories of Childhood by Zitkala and Bama. This is chapter number 8 in your course book Vistas. In the last lecture, we had started with the explanation of the first part of the text of this chapter. Till now, we had read how the writer Zitkala is narrating the traumatic experience from her childhood, which was the cutting of her long hair. The little children of Native American tribes used to be taken to Christian missionary schools with a dominant white culture and education. Over there, they used to be treated completely with the Western education, and they were completely brainwashed of all their native culture and mannerisms of the tribes to which they belonged. They were also brought up completely as white individuals except for their color. So Zitkala is talking about one such personal experience where there was too much strictness and discipline in her school. She was a new student in that English white school, missionary school, okay? And right on the first day, she felt very much confused, anxious, out of place, and eager to go back home. So उनका वहाँ पे फर्स्ट डे जो ही था स्कूल में एक्सपीरियंस फर्स्ट डे का वो ही बहुत ही उनके लिए ट्रॉमेटिक था एंड इट वाज वेरी बैड फॉर हर एंड सो वहाँ पे जाते साथ ही उनको अपने घर वापस जाने का मन करने लगा बिकॉज इट वाज वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट द टीचर्स वर वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट कोई उनसे अच्छे से बात नहीं कर रहा था दे वर नॉट एक्सप्लेनिंग थिंग्स टू हर हम जनरली देखते हैं कि जब बच्चे छोटे होते हैं और वो केजी में होते हैं 1 में होते हैं 2 में होते हैं प्राइमरी स्कूल में जब वो होते हैं तो उनको बहुत अच्छे से बहुत केयर से रखा जाता है स्पेशली टीचर्स जो होते हैं वो बहुत ध्यान से रखते हैं वो बहुत माइल्डली बात करते हैं क्योंकि उस वक्त बच्चों का दिमाग बहुत इनोसेंट होता है बहुत वो सॉफ्ट उनका हार्ट होता है सो सच चिल्ड्रन नीड अ लॉट ऑफ केयर but we see in this chapter that Zitkala was very young at that time, but the school authorities, the teachers in that white missionary school, they were not at all concerned about the little children and they treated them very harshly. And this is one such experience that we are reading in this chapter. So today we will continue from page number 95, where we had stopped in the last lecture. I read, please follow. But this eating by formula was not the hardest trial in that first day. Late in the morning, my friend Judwin gave me a terrible warning. Judwin knew a few words of English, and she had overheard the pale-faced woman talk about cutting our long, heavy hair. Our mothers had taught us that only unskilled warriors who were captured had their hair shingled by the enemy. Among our people, short hair was worn by mourners and shingled hair by cowards. So we had seen that the eating manners in the hostel or in that school were quite weird and they were too strict for the little children of her age and she did not know when to stand, when to sit, which bell tells what. Okay, so she was very much confused at that moment and she had started to cry instead of eating. But this was not all. Just after that, she got to know one of her friends told her that a more terrible thing was going to happen, and that was the cutting off their long, heavy hair. Okay, so Zitkala Sa's school friend Judwin had heard this conversation between the teachers and she told this to Zitkala Sa and this information made Zitkala Sa very panicky and very rebellious. She was completely horrified to hear this. And why was she horrified? She was horrified because in her native culture, that is in the tribal Native American culture to which she belonged, long hair was a matter of pride and it was Only the cowards and the people who lost in war or were taken as prisoners, only they used to keep short hair, or they were forced to keep short hair. Otherwise all the normal people would wear long hairs with great pride. Okay, so short hair was a symbol of defeat and cowardice in her culture, and so this had such a huge impact on her mind as to why are these people going to cut my hair, and it was something not at all acceptable for her. ये आप ऐसे सोचिए जैसे कि आपके कल्चर में या आपके रिलीजन में या आपके नेटिव कोई कुछ ऐसा होगा आपका जो आप का एक सिंबल है, जो आपके लिए बचपन से बहुत इम्पोर्टेंस रखता है, जो एक बिलीफ है, जो एक फेथ है. ओके, देर इज समथिंग विच डजेंट चेंज. वो आप कहीं भी जाते हैं वो वैसा ही रहता है, बट सडनली व्हेन यू गो टू अ सडन प्लेस और व्हेन न्यू पीपल कम टू योर प्लेस, दे चेंज दैट specific thing, okay, that you have been practicing for right from your birth. So आपको कैसा लगेगा? So this is exactly how Zitkala Shah felt when she heard that their long hair was going to be cut. Okay, so she was completely full of rebellion. Okay, let's read further. We discussed our fate some moments, and when Judwin said, "We have to submit because they are strong," I rebelled. "No, I will not submit. I will struggle first," I answered. I watched my chance, and when no one noticed, I disappeared. I crept up the stairs as quietly as I could in my squeaking shoes. My moccasins had been exchanged for shoes. Along the hall I passed, without knowing whither I was going. Turning aside to an open door, I found a large room with three white beds in it. The windows were covered with dark green curtains, which made the room very dim. Thankful that no one was there, I directed my steps towards the corner farthest from the door. On my hands and knees I crawled under the bed and huddled myself in the dark corner. So Zitkalasa wanted to save her long hair that was so precious to her, and she made a little plan in her mind. And what she did, she slipped away from everyone's eyes without anyone catching her or noticing her, and she went into a dark room. In that dark room, there was no one, and there were dark green curtains, so it was very dark. And there, what she did, just like little children try to hide, she went under the bed. There was a bed. She went under that bed, crawling on all fours, and there she sat, huddled in a corner. So बेड के नीचे वो जा कर के बैठ गई, जैसे कि छोटे बच्चे अक्सर छुपने के लिए करते हैं. So she was completely full of fear. She was full of rebellion, and उनके दिमाग में एक यही आइडिया आया that I have to save my long hair. So she did this. Okay. From my hiding place, I peered out, shuddering with fear whenever I heard footsteps nearby. Though in the hall loud voices were calling my name, and I knew that even Judwin was searching for me. I did not open my mouth to answer. Then the steps were quickened and the voices became excited. The sounds came nearer and nearer. Women and girls entered the room. I held my breath and watched them open closet doors and peep behind large trunks. Someone threw up the curtains, and the room was filled with sudden light. What caused them to stoop and look under the bed? I do not know. I remember being dragged out, though I resisted by kicking and scratching wildly. In spite of myself, I was carried downstairs and tied fast in a chair. So, we see that from under the bed in that room, Zitkala saw the little girl. She heard people calling her name. Okay, and everyone was searching for her. She got to know this, and even her friend Judwin was also taking her name. She was calling her, but Zitkalasa did not reply to anyone, not even to her friend. She remained completely silent because she was hiding, but she could not remain hidden for a long time because वो बहुत छोटी थी. एंड ऑब्वियस सी बात है, जब लोग किसी जगह आके आपको खोजेंगे तो वो हर जगह खोजेंगे. दे विल ऑल्सो लुक अंडर द बेड, दे विल लुक बिहाइंड द ट्रंक्स, बिहाइंड द कर्टन्स एंड एवरीवेयर. सो इवेंचुअली शी was found. Okay, and there was a frantic searching, and she was found under the bed. एंड जब वो वहाँ मिली तो people dragged her. Okay, they dragged her out from under the bed and they took her downstairs, and over there she was tied to a chair. So just see the treatment कि कैसे छोटे बच्चे को जो नया नया उस स्कूल में आया उसको ट्रीटमेंट कैसे उसको उसके साथ हो रही है. ओके, सो so when she was being taken away, carried away, she scratched and kicked and rebelled with all the possible strength that a child has, but it was to no avail. Okay, I cried aloud, shaking my head all the while until I felt the cold blades of the scissors against my neck and heard them gnaw off one of my thick braids. Then I lost my spirit. Since the day I was taken from my mother, I had suffered extreme indignities. People had stared at me, I had been tossed about in the air like a wooden puppet, and now my hair was shingled like a coward's. In my anguish, I mourned for my mother, but no one came to comfort me. Not a soul reasoned quietly with me, as my own mother used to do, for now I was only one of many little animals driven by a herder. Okay, so this is it. This is the anecdote. It is very short. So, what is she saying towards the end? That she cried a lot, and when her thick braid was cut so ruthlessly by the people over there, and she realizes that when she realizes that her hair is finally cut, then she doesn't rebel. She completely loses her energy, her spirit, and this is the kind of traumatic experience that not only she but all the children, native children, had to go in that white school. Okay, and Zitkala sir remembers all this with great pain. Obviously, she wrote this and she wrote her other works when she became a grown up woman, when she realized what had happened to her in the childhood. Okay, so she remembers all this with great pain, and she says that the natives had to suffer many indignities and disrespect. Okay, and people used to stare at her, and the people who were from her tribe, they used to just handle them ruthlessly. They used to kick and push and pull, and if the children would not listen, they would do all these things. They would apply force. So so the author finally realized that they were just like animals over there. They were treated completely like animals who are not at all reasoned with. जानवरों से कोई कभी reason नहीं करता है. कोई उनके साथ हमेशा इंसान जो है force लगाता है, force यूज करता है. वी नेवर टॉक टू द एनिमल्स के चलो अब हम तुमको काटने जा रहे हैं, या चलो हम तुमसे तुम्हारा ये हमको काम है इसलिए हम तुमको काटने जा रहे हैं. एनिमल्स के साथ बहुत रूथलेस बिहेवियर होता है. वी हैव ऑल सीन. सो सिमिलरली उस तरह ही वहाँ पे इन ट्राइबल चिल्ड्रन के साथ वैसा बिहेवियर हो रहा था उस वाइट स्कूल में. जस्ट लाइक एनिमल्स, दे वर नॉट एट ऑल कंसोल्ड, they were not at all reasoned with, as if they had no emotions. Okay, so all this was the utter heinous kind of treatment that was done. और ये किसी भी इंसान के साथ अगर ऐसा हो, so it is a very shameful act. Okay, and so all this remembrance, all this memory filled this writer with great rebellion, and it filled her with great anger towards the whites. तो इसीलिए इन्हीं रीजंस की वजह से, इसी इनइक्वल ट्रीटमेंट की वजह से, और इसी ट्रीटमेंट विच हैड एम्ड एट रिमूविंग ऑल देयर कल्चर, इससे वो लोग क्या करना चाह रहे थे बेसिकली. वो लोग उनके बाल काट के, उनको वाइट्स के जैसे ड्रेसअप करके, वाइट की एजुकेशन देके, दे वर ट्राइंग टू कल्चर दीज पीपल इनटू कंप्लीटली वाइट इंडिविजुअल्स, जिनकी मेंटालिटी बिल्कुल वाइट्स जैसी हो, जिनके कल्चर्स बिल्कुल पिछले कल्चर्स बिल्कुल मिटा दिए गए हों. सो इज दिस अ गुड थिंग? नो, दिस इज नॉट एट ऑल अ गुड थिंग, नॉर एन एक्सेप्टेबल थिंग, बिकॉज नेचर हैज मेड अस डिफरेंट, एंड सो ह्यूमन्स शुड एक्सेप्ट दैट डिफरेंस एंड लिव इन हार्मनी. ओके, सो this is what Zitkala Sa fought for throughout her life, for the cause of her Native American culture, their equality, and for the women as well. बिकॉज विमेन के साथ हर जगह ज़्यादा इनइक्वालिटी होती है, उनके साथ ज़्यादा हार्श ट्रीटमेंट्स होते हैं, बिकॉज दे आर कंसिडर्ड एज वीक एंड दे आर कंसिडर्ड एज कम्प्लीटली हैविंग नो नो इम्पोर्टेंस. विमेन को हमेशा से इम्पोर्टेंस उनको कम दी गई है कंपेयर टू मैन. सो ऑल दीज रीजंस वर वाई ज़ितकाला सा came forward to fight for the cause of equality for her tribe. Okay, so this is where we'll stop here today, and this is it. This is the short extract that we have been given. अगर ये आपको अच्छा लगा, and if you feel like reading more, so you can google the textbook. You can find it online as well as offline, and आप उनके पूरे experiences को पढ़ सकते हैं, उनके साथ और क्या क्या हुआ. Okay, so I hope that you all will read this chapter, and in the next lecture we will start with the extract, the next part of the chapter that is given, written by Bama. So please read the chapter, and hopefully we'll meet in the next lecture. Until then, take care of yourselves. Thank you and see you.